Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Unsung Superheroes. My name is Mark J. Malone, and in this podcast, we delve into the lives of ordinary people living extraordinary lives. Not all superheroes wear capes, and here we explore how people have overcome adversities and challenges and yet still manage to survive and thrive as they progress through life. Our first episode today features The Storm. The Storm grew up in care from a very young age, and she's lived through some horrendous experiences, many of which she will share with us today. It's quite a shocking first episode, but hopefully it will pass on some good messages, some positive messages off the back of it on how someone can remain so resilient through such stresses and strife placed in their path. So here is the first episode of Unsung Superheroes. Okay, we'll get started. So welcome, The Storm. And how are you feeling about today?
Good. Boot time.
All right, good. So remember, today you can just speak as freely as you want. I know we've known each other for maybe coming up to 10 years, I think. Yeah. And so I've heard snippets of your life and some of the things you've overcome over the years, but it'll be nice to hear the story from
me.
Yes. We can edit anything as well, so make sure you keep the microphone close to your mouth as you speak as well. All right then, so let's get started with the first question. So maybe tell me a bit about your first childhood memory.
I would have been about 7. I was in Ravelrig, and we stole yogurts from a home next door for diabetes kids, not knowing that they were sugar-free, which are vile. And then we got caught, so we were made to eat them. And, I don't like yogurt at all.
Okay.
I just stole them because everybody else was doing it. And we got caught, and we were made to eat every one of them, and there was hundreds of them. And we were being sick as we were eating them, but they were making us eat it and be sick at the same time.
And so where is this Ravelrig?
Ravelrig is in Balerno.
Okay.
And it's for kids who had no parents or nobody wanted them, basically. It's a horrible place. The bit that got me more was because I was the cheeky one, so I would swear at them, and we were in the tree house, and one of the staff hung me out the tree house by my feet.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm only 7, and I'm probably I'm not very tall, and I felt like I was going to fall.
Okay.
So it's quite dramatic. I mean, to other people it probably isn't, but to me it was. And then that night, we were still being bad, still misbehaving, and not staying in bed. So one of the staff, this big baldy guy, he took us into the woods, 3 of us, 3 girls. We were only in our pyjamas, freezing cold, dark, raining, scared out our wits. And he made us dig a hole, this big hole.
Oh, wow.
And every time we stopped, he told us we would end up in the hole. So we never stopped. And once the big hole was dug, he told us all to go back to the home. Now it was dark and it was raining. We didn't know how to get back. It seemed like hours. It wasn't, but it seemed like hours. Then we had a hot bath. He came back in. There were 7 of us all together. and he was trying to drown us in the bath.
Oh my gosh.
Like hold our heads under the water. And then we were all in these beds down in the basement, and this wee boy, he was only about 6, I think. Well, he was screaming and they were beating him, and they beat him that much that he'd be quiet. There was no noise, there was no movement, there was no nothing. And the next day, he was gone. And my belief, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I think he died.
Okay.
I think he died, but I have no proof.
So in the course of a day, not only was you forced to eat sick, you was hung from the tree, and then threatened with this this hole that was being dug in the forest, and then you got almost drowned when you was back at the facility. Is that about right?
Yep. And then that little boy, and that haunts you, because I can still see him. I can still see his face. Aye, so it's not nice. Not nice. Not nice.
And so, how long had you been in the care system at that point?
I'd been in for 7 years, because I went in when I was 6 months old. I had 2 brothers, but one of my brothers was with me, but we weren't allowed near each other.
Okay.
So I was like 7, so he would have been like about 12. So he was in another part of the home. So we weren't allowed to even eat together, sleep together, talk together, nothing. So it was like I didn't have a brother. I just had me.
And how did you feel at the time? Yeah.
It didn't bother me at the time because I didn't know any better. It wasn't until I was older when I realised that in care, brothers and sisters could be together. That's when it started to bother me. It was like, well, why am I so different?
Okay.
I'm not different to anyone else, so.
And was there anyone at the time who was like a role model or a parent type figure?
No. They all wore like nurses' uniforms and ravel rig, and the men just wore like trousers and shirts and a tie. So they all looked quite professional, quite big.
Yeah.
And we just looked wee.
Okay. And then, so when did you find out about your brothers? And
I never found out that even my brother was there until one day. I think I was like 8, maybe 9, but I think I was 8. I came home from school and he was leaving. They were putting him in a car and he went to Blackford.
okay.
So that was the last time I seen him until my son, Connor, was 6 months old.
Okay.
That's when I met him.
Yeah.
So it was a long time.
And where was you born?
I was born in the Royal Infirmary, but my mum and my stupid dad and my granny and my 2 brothers, they stayed in Lonehead.
Okay.
25 McKinley Terrace. I still remember that number.
Yeah.
Still remember it to this day.
And how did you find out that information about your parents and your brothers and your granny and where you lived and things like that?
Well, I got this phone call one day. I had like 2 of my own kids at this time. I had 4 of my own kids at this time, sorry. And I got this phone call from a social worker saying that my brother, Tommy, my big brother, wanted to meet me, and he'd been hunting for me for years. And that's where the ball started rolling.
Okay.
And then I went and read my papers, which wasn't very much at all. But it gave me enough to say that I had an auntie, an uncle that stayed in Croydon.
Okay.
That I had never heard of in my life. And like Tommy, my big brother, had been looking for me, and then a year later, my other brother, he died.
And did the brothers have more info about all the rest of the family, or?
No, nobody knew
No.
anything about anybody.
Yeah.
I just found out that I had an auntie and uncle that obviously Croydon, but nobody knew them. Nobody had anything to do with them. I mean, apparently there was letters from my granny, and she had been sending like £5 postal orders every year. My birthday, my Christmas, Easter, whenever. I never got anything.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that I had a granny.
Okay. And do you know why your parents put you into care? Do you know the reason why or anything?
Yeah. My mum died. My mum, I got two different stories. The first story I got was that my dad killed her and put us three kids in bed beside her with a dead person. That's what, all the way through the homes, I was told.
Okay.
And it was because we were born and she didn't want us, and he didn't want us, so he killed her. He was quite a bully. He was a bully. But then I found out about 4 years ago, maybe 5, and she had been on antidepressants, took an antidepressive, went to bed, went to sleep, woke up during the night, forgot that she had took it, and took another one.
Okay.
And it killed her.
Okay.
And when I went to the police, that's the story the police came back with.
Yeah.
That's what they came with. So
you more believe that.
I
so
more
maybe
believe that.
The care story was not as true as they made you
think
believe.
that was just a hold on me. Something that they could hold on me and say, well, you caused this. You were the one that done it.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what they got out of that, but they must have got something out of it.
And so tell me some more experiences of your care years. So you was in, what's the place called?
Ravelrig.
Ravelrig.
I can't remember much more of Ravelrig, apart from one day I came into school and a staff member told me to go and pack up my stuff. Well, I never had anything. You never had nothing. I had these two tiny little teddies, two wee dogs. Nobody would buy me them, so I stole them. I stole them out the shop. Just tiny. They were like that size.
Yeah.
And they were mine. So I took them, I put them in my pocket, got in this car with two strange people, didn't even know who they were. And they took me to Curry.
Okay.
Curry Children's Home. Now, Ravelrig was massive. I mean, massive. Curry was tiny. So I walked in and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It was just
totally different.
Aye.
Yeah.
It was a wee flat building, and there was about, altogether, even the staff, there was like 12, 13 people.
And did they tell you the reason why you moved to that one?
They just said I was getting out of control.
Okay.
And they couldn't control me.
And did you feel that way at the time?
No.
Out of control?
I thought I was quite well behaved.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
For me. And so, basically, as soon as you walked in, on the right-hand side, was the office, as soon as you walked in. And I was told to stand in the hall and not speak, not look at anybody, just keep your eyes on the floor. They went in, had this yap, came out and went, right, through there, to the left, sit down, stay there. So I had to sit at a window, staring out a window, because everybody was still at school. They were like not in from school yet. And then that was it. And you had there was like 3 bedrooms on this side, and then at the other side there was 2 bedrooms, and it only held like 2 or 3 people.
Okay.
So it was very small, and it was quite a culture shock for me, because I was that used of hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And then just coming into this tiny wee building, you're like, what am I doing? Curry was alright.
Yeah, how was it different to Ravelrig? What was the main differences?
I
How
think
was your
because it was so
experience?
small.
So did you prefer it there to Ravelrig?
No,
Or?
I actually preferred Ravelrig, and I know that sounds stupid, but I preferred it because there was more going on, and I was one of the people, like, if there was trouble, I was always there. I was always first there. And you never really got always caught because there were so many people.
Okay.
But in Curry, if you got into trouble, you were caught right away because there was no people.
Yeah. And so you say you was quite a handful then, it sounds like it, where you was quite a bit of trouble. And so what was going through your head at the time when you was...
I think I just pressed that shit. It's blue now. Is that okay?
Let's see, it should be okay, hopefully. There you go. I think that's a pause, so yeah.
My big finger.
Hopefully we got the rest of it.
No,
So
I just pressed it.
okay, that's all right. Okay, so yeah, you were saying about they were saying you were a bit of a handful and you was like quite naughty by the sounds of it. So what was going through your head at the time?
I wanted to cause as much trouble as possible, basically. I thought, I'm in here for a long time, and I don't want to be here. So I'm going to make your life harder than my life. And I basically did that.
Yeah.
I'd go to school and I would just like fight anyone. I mean, I'm no tough in any form of the imagination. I'm probably the softest person on the planet. But I had to be this big person. I had to be bigger than everyone else to survive.
Yeah.
And that was the only way I could survive. So I'd get into fights, and I'd go home, and then I'd get a kick in. Then I'd get put to bed.
So you get a kick in from the staff, would it?
Yeah. There was one member of the staff, her name was Izzy Jamoka. And I hated this woman for the minute I met her. She walked in after I'd been there maybe about 2 months. And the first meeting of her was getting woken up by this big American fat bastard. Sorry. But she was huge. And she was about 4 foot nothing with her hands in the air. But she was as big as she was as wide. I mean, she was huge. And she was American. And she was horrible, horrible, horrible woman. She woke us up by saying, get your fat, lazy bones in the kitchen. So we all had to, this is 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And we all had to stand there like little soldiers. And I thought, nah, I'm not having this. So I started messing about with someone else. And right away she was like, you and you, troublemakers, that's it. Okay. So from day dot, she didn't like me, and I certainly didn't like her. Then she thought, I'll bring in a puppy. I love dogs.
Yeah.
I love animals, any animal. So she brought in this little puppy. His name was Danny. No, she was called Danny, sorry, because I'll tell you later about the other side. Anyway, so we have Danny, and I fall in love with him. Her. I keep calling him, but it's a her. That was my job. That was only my job. Okay. I had to feed him, I had to walk him, I had to bath him, I had to care for him. Everything.
Yeah. And did because you say you like dogs, that you really enjoyed that experience,
I loved it. I loved it. I mean, he was my saviour. The dog was like my pal. We slept together until she caught us. And then she beat the dog this night because she was caught on my bed. Wow. So after that, I used to hover on the bed, play with her, but I'd wait until they were all sleeping. I'd make her go into her own bed until they were all sleeping. Then I would let her up on my bed and sleep with her, but I'd wake up early so I'd put the dog back in her bed.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't get into trouble. She wouldn't get hurt. But she used to use the dog, like I'd come in from school and I'd been fighting or something. And she got fed up with this. And this day, Danny was about a year old. And she says, this Izzy. She says, I am sick and tired of you. You don't deserve an animal. Then she opened the door, the front door. The dog ran out because she was terrified. She was absolutely terrified of this woman.
Yeah.
And she ran out and got hit by a car.
Oh my God.
There and then, right in front of me.
Yeah.
And she's got me by the scruff of the neck. And she's like, don't you dare go. Don't you dare go. This Izzy, this fat bastard. And I just went, fuck you. I went running over to the dog, picked her up, covered in blood. I mean, the dog was covered. There wasn't a bit of the dog that had skin on it.
Yeah.
It just got taken with the wheels right along the road. I picked her up. I knew she was dead. I knew right away the dog was dead. So I picked her up. I took her out the back. I dug a big hole myself with my hands, with my bare hands. And I put her blanket on the ground. And I put the dog in the hole. And I put her teddy in. And I gave her one of my teddies, my little dog. I gave her one. And I dug the hole back in. And that was wrenching. I mean, I don't know how that never killed me.
That was hurting more than all the other things.
Oh, aye, you could do anything to me, just didn't do it to an animal.
Yeah.
No, you don't do that. So the next morning, it gets up and I says to her, I ain't going to fucking school. Yous can do what the fuck yous want. Yous have done it.
Yeah.
Yous have done the worst to me. So I ain't going to school and I'm never going to school. So fuck yous. I don't care anymore. I'd gave up. I'd literally gave up that night. So the next morning she says, right, we're going in the car. And I was like, all right, where are we going now? We went to a dog place where they breed dogs.
Okay.
Danny was a wee cairn terrier.
Yeah.
And this other one was a cairn terrier as well. Same bloody dog. But it was a boy. And it was called Kelly. And she handed me this dog and went, now this belongs to you. And if you can't behave, it will die like Danny. So she was so fucking evil.
Yeah.
If you treat an animal like that, you're the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
You're not coming back for that. But I couldn't let myself be attached.
Because what happened with Danny.
The Danny.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I tried. I loved the dog. I mean, I loved the dog to bits, but we never had the same relationship at all.
Yeah.
And then she brought in this female dog, an older one. I can't remember that dog's name though, at all. I just can't remember her. And then they had puppies. And I had to look after the dogs. I actually sat up one night when she was in labour. This bitch was in labour. And she had 7 puppies.
Yeah.
Tiny little things. And I sat there, holding her paw, clapping her.
And what age was you at this point?
I was about 11.
Yeah.
But I had knowledge that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
Because 11-year-old doesn't know how to do puppies.
That's what I was thinking. So you just had the natural instinct for it. Really.
Yeah, I just loved every bit of it. And I was like, have another one. Even though, like, you can only have so many. But I wanted her to keep going.
Yeah.
Because that feeling of this little puppy.
Yeah.
was just amazing. It was amazing.
So do you feel like your love for animals is one of the things that really got you through like tough times in your childhood?
Oh, aye. Because like we had this, we used to go down this field. It was just at the back of the home, and it was an old building, and it was like a train track.
Okay.
So it was like an old train station place. It was brilliant. And we had hundreds and hundreds of stray cats. And we'd steal like bits of meat, and we'd steal like even dog food, or we'd steal anything to feed these cats.
Go feed them, yeah.
And we used to get up early in the morning, and years and moons ago, when I was a child, it was glass bottles of milk.
Yeah.
So we'd steal the milk off all the doorsteps so we could feed the cats.
Like Robin Hood.
And I mean, the place stunk, obviously, because
the
there were stray cats.
Yeah.
And we found old mattresses, and we'd take them down, and we'd have stuff for the cats to sleep on. But it stunk, but we didn't care.
Yeah.
We really didn't care. Until like they came and they raided the place and trapped all the cats and took them all away.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so you were saying earlier that you felt like you had to be strong or cause trouble because you wanted to be strong. So that then, what was that thought process there?
It wasn't so much I had to be strong. I just had to look and act an idiot, because it kept other people away from me.
Okay.
I didn't like people. I didn't want people. I wanted to be on my own, but I wanted the animals.
Yeah.
I would have preferred just to live in a shelter just for animals. They could have put me in there, and that would have done me.
Yeah.
That would have done me perfect.
And what made you feel like you wanted to just be on your own?
Because I hated people. People were just horrible. People, adults, more adults than children, were out for themselves. They weren't in that care because they cared. They were in that for power. That's exactly what they were. It was all power to them.
And have you got any examples of how they would abuse their power or...
Abuse their power by, like, we were allowed 1 shower a week. We got our clothes changed once a week. I used to, when I was at school, I would steal these tiny little bars of soap. Used to get them in the toilets, wee white bars. And I used to steal them because I didn't want to be dirty.
Yeah.
I wanted clean underwear. I wanted clean socks. I wanted clean hands and face. So I would steal them, and I'd wash out my underwear and my socks. So we'd have clean stuff.
Yeah.
Because, and some days, like, because they never put the heating on, my stuff was wet. So I'd go to school with wet underwear on.
It never dried in time.
No,
Yeah.
but it didn't bother me because I knew they were clean.
So they had no heating on, no showers, or only once a week?
Once a week.
Just once a week for the clothes change?
Mm-hmm. Your bed was done once a week. If you wet the bed, oh, God help you. Because you slept in that bed for a week.
Really?
Yes. And this little boy, no, it wasn't. Sorry. It was a girl. This little girl used to wet the bed. And she used to get beat every morning by her sheets. They would whip her with the sheets.
So there was actually physical abuse as well?
Oh, there was any abuse you can think of, there was there. If it wasn't in that home, it was in another one. They were just nasty, horrible, nasty people. Even now, I've never met anybody like them.
And that's actually in the care system, and it was several homes, not just the one. It was...
Oh no, it was several homes. I was in like 11 homes altogether because we couldn't control me.
Yeah. And so and literally at all of them, the staff were majority abusive in some way or treating you with neglect or however it...
Yeah. And if they didn't, if you got know a bad one, they did nothing. They knew it was going on because they'd have to be blind not to know. So, aye. They all knew it was going on. They just didn't care.
Yeah.
Basically. They didn't care. And there was one time where I was in midfield and I tried to save people.
So Midfield's another care home?
Yeah. Midfield is in Laswade.
Okay.
That is massive. It is huge. The grounds were huge. So I came up with this idea one night because we knew we were going to get beaten. We knew we were going to get beat because we stole some fruit out tins out the cupboard and we got caught. So me and 3 of my pals, but mostly me, I phoned the police and I said that there was a strange man looking in the window and we were scared. So the next minute there was police, there was armed guards, there was police with dogs.
Wow.
All round us, searching the grounds because, as I say, the grounds were huge.
Yeah.
They weren't tiny. It was a massive place. You were talking about like 60 to 80 kids in this home.
Yeah, okay.
So it was really big.
Yeah,
It was a big, like, it's now flats anyway. And so I knew we'd be safe for a while.
Okay, so that was to delay the beating kind of thing. Okay.
So people could sort of like get a wee bit used to this is going to happen, but it's not going to happen when the police are there.
Yeah.
So we all got put to bed. We all went to bed about 12. The police disappeared about 2. And at 2:05, we were all marched out our sleep down to the big hall. And we were all put in a big circle. And I mean, you had kids there who were like 3 and 4. You had kids there that were like 16.
Yeah. And what age were you at the time?
I would have been about 13.
Okay, wow.
And I have never, ever experienced a kicking like this in my life. This was adults on adults. And we're kids. We are children. There was a 3-year-old. He was standing and they said, do you know why you're standing here? And he's 3-year-old.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
And he went, because you've brought us out of bed. That's a 3-year-old child.
Yeah.
He got such a kick into his back. This is a fully grown man. So 2 of my friends walked forward, like, towards the child to try and save him. And it became a world bath of blood and shite flying. Wow. This place just turned into a boxing ring.
And do you think it's because they got, I'm just thinking like maybe they got scared that the police were going to turn up often, so they have to make sure that nobody calls the police because that's their worst nightmare, I guess.
Basically, aye. Well, there was one phone in the hall that we could use, and that was disconnected that night. So nobody could phone and say, shit, we need help. They didn't care.
Yeah.
They literally didn't care. There was people with broken wrists. A boy had a broken knee. There was ones that had like ribs that were broken. You were all cut. You were bruised. I mean, there was 4 of us. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 4 of us, me 5, so there was 5. Got taken into the office and I have never had a kicking. This wasn't a kicking. This was, you were going to die. You were literally going to die. I have never experienced pain like this in my life. My face was cut. There wasn't a bit of my skin that wasn't bruised, I had bruises on top of bruises on top of bruises, and they didn't care. They didn't care.
And so, what about when you went to school? All of these children went to school. Was there not any teachers or anything?
No, because all we were homers. That's all we were. We were people that didn't belong anywhere. In school, no. That's where most of my fights came from, because somebody would call me a homer, and that would just rip the bones in my body. And I was just like, I was coming downstairs one day, and this lassie said to me, "Donnelly, you're dead." And I was like, "Really?" So I put my hands on the banister. I don't know where I got my strength from, because my whole body ached. But
Is this when you was already bruised from?
Yeah. That was like only about 2 days after the kicking.
Yeah.
And I just literally lifted my body off the ground and drop kicked her right in the face and jumped on her head, and I didn't care. I really did not care.
Wow.
I wanted this person dead.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything to cause her to die. Do you know what? Pity. And then I shouted to her two pals, "You next? You coming?" Because at this point I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care if I lived, died, went back to a home, went to prison. I didn't care. I just knew at that minute I wanted this person dead.
Yeah.
And I beat her that badly that she ended up in hospital. But I'm covered in bruises. I'm covered in cuts. Did I go to hospital? No. Nobody sent me to hospital. I just got left. And then I ran away.
Wow. And so, have you ever been in hospital with any of the injuries you've had through the care system?
Yeah. I had a broken wrist. David Burns broke my wrist.
Is that an adult or a
That's an
child?
adult. That's a fully grown adult. He was probably in his 50s.
And did he get any kind of comeback off that? Or?
No, he just told the doctor that I was a troublemaker and I'd gotten myself into a fight and I hit a wall. I punched a wall and I broke my wrist. And the doctor turned around and says, "Well, that isn't a kind of break you would do on a wall." He's a doctor.
Yeah.
But he spoke to him, and the next minute it was all brushed under the carpet.
And what actually happened that time?
We were up the stairs and on the middle landing, and he grabbed me by the wrist and he bent my wrist backwards, so my fingers were touching my elbow, sort of thing. And then he just slapped it. So you can imagine it like that.
Back,
and then somebody smack in there.
Yeah.
This part of my wrist was broken.
Okay.
You do not break that by punching something.
Yeah.
Right? You would break this part.
Yeah.
You break the front of your wrist, not the back of your wrist.
Yeah.
So I got stooked, got sent home. Then one day we got to go ice skating, and I could hardly stand on my own two bloody feet without falling. I was very clumsy person. So I was going around with my pals, one on each side, and the next minute I said, "Right, let me try myself." So I'm going round, but they're very close in case I fell.
Yeah.
And John Smith, am I allowed to name people?
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
He came towards me. He caught the bottom of the skate. He done it deliberate. I didn't care what you say.
And is he staff or?
He was a staff member. He was actually second in charge of the home.
Okay.
Midfield. And he caught my skate. I went up in the air. I landed on my kneecap. Literally on my knee. I was screaming like a pig. I mean, a pig probably didn't even scream as loud.
Yeah.
they got an ambulance and he turned round and said to the ambulance man, she's taking the piss, there's nothing wrong with her. Well, it worked out, my knee was smashed, broke.
Wow.
So they couldn't stookie it, so they popped it with a sock thing.
Okay.
Like a tuba grip thing.
Yeah.
So they put that on for, like, that was on the Saturday and I was to go back on the Monday and they would stookie it. So we were going back, we were in the van and it was like wooden benches down each side.
Yeah.
So I was sitting with my leg up on the other bench and I went, I'm not going to school, you'll all go to school. And he brought his hand down right on top of my kneecap. I mean, full force, 2 hands, clasped together, smashed into my knee.
Oh my gosh.
The pain was fucking horrendous.
Yeah, and what age was you at that point?
I would have been still about 13, 14.
Yeah.
Went back to the hospital, they x-rayed it and they said there was a new break. And how would I be able to do that? And what were they told? I was a troublemaker and I got into trouble and I got into a fight and I fell.
Did you ever tell these hospital staff or anything what actually
I
happened?
told them the truth. I told them, but they were big, I was wee. They had a mouth, I didn't. They don't listen to children. And it's true even to this day. They'll ask the adult. They very rarely ask the child.
Yeah.
Because I've got kids of my own and they've been in hospital because they fell or they've cut themselves or they broke their bone. They don't ask the child.
Yeah.
They don't ask children. They ask the adult and it's the adult's word. It's not, I mean, there was one time I got taken into hospital because I pretended there was nothing wrong with me. I pretended I wet the bed because I was trying to save other people. I was trying to help kids younger than me. So if I wet the bed, I'd get the kick in. They wouldn't get as much.
Okay.
So it took a bit pressure off them.
Yeah.
But because this went on for so long, and I did it every night, I'd wake up at like, say, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'd lie there and pee myself. I'd literally just flood the bed with pee. And have to lie there till wake time.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't have it too hot.
Okay.
So when you pee, it's hot. So I had to make sure it was cold.
Wow.
So that took the pressure off other kids. I was trying to help. And they took me to the doctors and the doctor said that I had this reflux of the kidneys. I never had nothing wrong with me.
Okay.
There was nothing wrong with me. So I think that took the pressure off me getting a kick in because there was physically something wrong with me.
Okay.
But there wasn't.
Yeah.
So I got taken into hospital and I was in there for a week. And they put me on this medication and I wouldn't let doctors near me. And there was this wee old woman. It was the city hospital.
Okay.
And there was this wee old woman and she'd go, Maggie. Oh, shit, I shouldn't have said that.
No.
You
Keep going. Yeah.
Listen, calm down. He's not going to hurt you. She knew there was something wrong with me.
Wow.
She knew that I was scared of people.
Yeah.
And she didn't know why, obviously. And then she'd say, come on, it's only a wee jag. Come on, sit up on my bed. I'm like 14, maybe 15. Terrified of needles.
Yeah.
Terrified. Because I didn't know what it was going to do. I thought it was another thing to hurt me. So, and then I would lie there in the morning and I'd pee myself. Because I had to keep it going.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop doing it because I'd get caught.
Yeah.
And then she'd say to me every night, if you're dry tomorrow, I'll give you some sweets and I'll give you a wee fag. And I'm like, cool. And then every so often I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
But then the next night I'd have to do it because
you want to keep it going.
I had to keep the thing going. So they gave me these tablets. But because there was nothing physically wrong with me, the tablets had the opposite effect. So instead of making me like more alert, it made me like go off my head.
Okay.
So I was jumping about all the beds and I was like sky high.
Wow.
I was like somebody off Ritalin, who'd been on Ritalin for years. Suddenly take it off them.
Yeah.
That was me.
Okay.
So and my heart rate was so fast. They thought I was actually going to have a heart attack.
Okay.
Because it was so fast. So they had to take me off these tablets and they gave me this machine. It was like 2 metal sheets and it was plugged into a battery. So as soon as the pee hit it, it would go off.
Okay.
So it was like an alarm.
Oh, wow.
So it'd wake you up.
Yeah.
So we went back to midfield. They rigged up one, right? They were given it by the hospital, but they rigged it up. When the pee hit, I got an electric shock. And to this day, I've got the scar on my back.
It was that strong?
Yes.
Yeah.
It ripped my bum, basically.
Oh my gosh.
I got rushed into hospital. They said that they had put it together, but we must have been playing with it. And we fucked it. Right? This is what they come up with.
Yeah.
And I had to go back into hospital, and I was in hospital for about 3 weeks with the burns. That's how bad, yeah. It was.
That's a proper electric shock.
Yeah, it was pretty horrendous. And I'd get a bath every night. I loved it. Got a bath every night. Bubble bath. With bubbles. I didn't even know what bubbles were till I went to hospital.
Yeah.
And they would give me cream, but I wouldn't let anybody do it. And I wasn't doing it right because obviously it's quite hard to try and get everybody sores. And I had bed sores anyway with wet in the bed.
Yeah.
So it's some of it was my own fault and others wasn't. But I had some really nice nurses but you still couldn't tell anybody. Yeah. You couldn't tell.
So it seems like you got in a lot of trouble where you was trying to help others, and you were saying you don't like people earlier, but maybe you really did a lot for the other kids in terms of protecting them.
Well, I didn't like pain. I was more used to pain. But some of them weren't. Some of them, like, I'm like 6 foot odds, and even as a 13, 14-year-old, I was really tall. I was quite athletic and I was really tall. Some of them were tiny. They were tiny little things because they weren't fed properly.
Yeah.
I was fed a bit better because I would go and steal it. I didn't give a flying toss. I just would go and steal. If I was hungry, I ate. And it didn't matter what it was. If it was a packet of crisps or a sweetie or a tin of fruit, I didn't care. I've got a scar on my hand where, see it?
Yeah.
On my fingers, where we had stole these they had massive, like, we broke into the larder one night in midfield, and it was full of food. Full.
So they had the food, but they weren't giving it to the kids?
Yes, it was full. So we stole pears and peaches. Now I love pears. And there was one left, and I stuck my hand in, and somebody shut the lid on my fingers and cut my fingers.
Okay, that's how that got there. Yeah.
And then during the night, obviously, I was bleeding. So in the morning, I says, "Oh, I must have done it at school," and I went like that, and it's opened, and I had to go and get 3 stitches in my fingers. So it was quite sore, but
imagine.
It was worse the pears.
But yeah, that's the thing. So it was like you was able to eat, so you was able to like obviously spend for yourself. So you wanted to protect
other people,
some of the young Worcesters, and then seeing a 3-year-old be kicked in the back, I can understand why you would probably.
Yeah, I mean, my granddaughter now is 4. So even at 4, can imagine somebody kicking her in the back. I'd kill them.
Awful. Yeah.
I'd literally kill them now.
Yeah.
So, to watch a kid scream, it's no nice. It's not even funny. I mean, I was quite athletic. I was lucky because I was athletic.
And what else helped you get through these times? Because obviously there was one point where it sounded like you was really at rock bottom.
Running.
Yeah.
I played basketball. I played for Dalkeith Saints, and I was only lassie in the team. And to get me to behave, for them to try and get me to behave, they would buy me wee bits of kit, or they'd give me bits of kit. But I had to behave. I had to go to school. I had to not fight. I had to try and behave. So I would get my own stuff because I had nothing. I had a pair of trainers, a pair of shorts and a t-shirt that didn't even match. But it was just the freedom of getting up and running. It didn't matter where. Cross country was my best.
Yeah.
Because you had to concentrate on your feet.
Yeah.
Because if you're running street running, you just concentrate ahead.
Yeah.
But if you're cross country,
in
the woods and the grass and the trees and the trunks and holes, you had to be watching your feet. So it gave me something else to concentrate on. I didn't have to concentrate on the arseholes and what was happening back there.
Yeah.
Or what was going to happen when I got home. I got home one night and there was no tea for me. And there was a tin of cat food. And they gave me cat food for my tea.
My gosh.
Now,
and is this still at midfield?
This was in midfield, yeah. And I ate. One, I was hungry.
Yeah.
Two, I just went for a run.
Yeah.
And three, I needed something, and my insides were broken because I knew it was cat food. If they hadn't told me, I probably would have ate it and not thought any more about it.
Yeah.
I would have thought it was crap, but it would have been food. But I ate every scrap of it, and I kept every scrap down, because if I was sick, one, I would have had to re-eat it, and two, I would have been getting into them. So I ate it, and I just kept drinking plenty of water at the same time, like one mouthful, a cup of water, one mouthful, cup of water, to get it away as fast out my throat. But I didn't care. I had to do things for me to survive, because if I didn't survive, some of the kids wouldn't survive.
So do you think that's the thing that kind of, as you're getting older, you're getting more to the teenage ages, is that when it was more like you felt like your purpose was not only for the animals, but also to look out for the other kids and kind of help them out as well?
Yeah, definitely, because there was too many older kids that didn't care about anyone else. There were some of them, I would reckon, were as bad as them, because they didn't try and help younger children.
Yeah.
Like kids that were more vulnerable than you. I could stick up for myself, even though I was a big scaredy cat anyway. But I still had to have that, like, I will try and help you as much as I possibly can help you.
Yeah.
There's sometimes I can't, and they suffered, but most of the time I did try.
Yeah. And so at the same teenage age, and to help you through, you found that the running and the basketball were the things that helped you.
Helped me survive. Helped me, because I knew on basketball training, I would get a meal. And I would be getting fitter. So I'd be getting stronger.
Yeah.
I used to stand there and let them fling the ball at me. Actually hit me with the ball. I would just stand there, because it made me more stronger. It made me fight more for me.
Yeah.
Because nobody else was going to fight for me. No one. And I learnt that very early on in life.
Yeah.
If you're not going to help yourself, then nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah.
You have to be bigger and stronger than anyone else.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm the softest person on the planet, but I couldn't fight sleep now.
Well, you could tell if you're going through all of that, but you still wanted to help the youngsters, then it shows what a nice person you must have been, despite everything else going on.
I would like to think that I did help someone, even if it was just one person. I would like to have thought that I wasn't that evil.
Yeah.
I wasn't that horrible. Because, I mean, we were called so many names. It was unbelievable, like troublemaker, stupid, thick, idiot, Homer, nobody likes you. Nobody, you're not going to become anything.
And this is not only inside the home, this is outside the home.
This is outside and inside.
Yeah.
This is like schools. I had a teacher who turned around and told me I'd be a nothing. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not a nothing. I've not done a lot in my life. I did try animals, but I couldn't destroy an animal that wasn't completely hurt. I couldn't. That was just not me. I'm not God and I'm not playing God. And I didn't. But I'm stronger as in I brought up my kids.
How many kids have you got?
5.
And what ages are the oldest?
Oh, God. Now you're asking. Well, I'm 60. I do not know. I cannot remember.
What age was you when you had her?
When I had my first one, I was 21.
21, yeah.
21.
Yeah.
And then I had a boy. I had a girl. Then I had a boy. I didn't like. I know this sounds horrible, but I didn't really like having a girl because I was more feared for the girl.
I see.
Like people can hurt them more, like sexually, mentally, physically. They're not as strong as men.
And is that because of what you went through, do you think?
I think so. I think I put a lot in me in her when she was young. But then I went on to have another girl. I mean, I had a girl, a boy, a girl, and then 2 boys. And my kids are all thriving. You know, there's only one that isn't working. But he's got his own child. He's doing his best. So I think I've done good in some senses. I mean, they never went without. Me and my husband, we would, before payday, maybe like 2 days before payday, we'd live off porridge. I'd make a big pot of porridge and us 2 would live off the porridge. So they always had a meal. Even if it was beans on toast or a pot of soup, they always had a meal. Every night. They had a shower every night or a bath. They had clean clothes every day. They had clean pajamas and they had clean beds.
Yeah. Some kind of those things that you were missing out on. You wanted to make sure that your kids had those things.
Yeah. I mean, there was one year, my friend, she was helping me wrap the Christmas stuff. And she went, do you know this? When they open their presents, make sure you have a bucket of water beside them because they're hot.
Yeah.
Because I didn't care where stuff came from, as long as my kids had it.
Yeah.
My kids got a decent Christmas and they got a decent birthday because right up till I had my oldest one, I didn't even know what a birthday was. I didn't know what a Christmas was. We got an orange for Christmas.
Just one orange.
One orange. That was it. One orange.
And no birthday
And you were lucky
celebrations?
if you got a comb for your hair.
Okay.
So when it came to theirs, I didn't care where it came from. I never stole it. I didn't care who did. As long as
you wanted to make sure your kids were.
Yeah. They always got a brand new winter coat and brand new winter shoes. And that I was happy. As long as they were warm and they were comfy, I didn't care.
And I've met all your kids and they are beautiful people. They've grown up to be perfectly normal, living great lives.
Yes.
And thriving, like you say. So.
And there's only 2 that don't have other children. I mean, one of my boys, he went with this girl. She's Portuguese, and she's got 3 kids, and now he brings them up.
Yeah.
He's brought them up for 3.5 years, and he treats them like they're his own.
Yeah.
And she did ask him, do you want us to have one more child together? And he's like, no, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm content, I'm happy. The kids are happy. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And so that shows that they're good, sensible children. And I mean, I've got how many kids I've got now? I've got three grandchildren of my own, like blood. And I've got 3 grandchildren who are not my own, but I treat them like my own.
In the family, yeah.
They get the same.
Yeah.
And then one of her older children is having a baby, and I'm going to be a great granny.
Yes.
And I don't care. I'm actually quite enjoying it, even the thought of it, because it's like, oh, somebody who isn't related wants me in their life.
Yeah.
And that is quite important.
Yeah.
That is very, very important. And I'm so happy it's going to be a wee boy.
Yeah.
Which is even better because I prefer boys.
Yeah.
But, aye.
You sound really proud of that fact as well. Not only that you're going to be a great grandmother, but that you're being welcomed into their family as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's what she said at Christmas time, because they came to us at Christmas there. And she was like, my God, you don't have to be blood to belong somewhere. You don't have to be blood.
Yeah.
And I've always said that. I mean, as my kids were growing up, I would have like 10, 8, 10, 11 other kids in my house for tea. You know, one of my boys would come in, I'm trying not to say their name. One of my boys would come in and they would say, oh, can he stay for tea? Can she stay for tea? Can he stay for tea? Aye, go on. I mean, you might not get a lot, but you'll get at least a sausage and chips.
Yeah.
And I always made sure whoever came to my door got fed.
Yeah.
Got fed. And that was it. I mean, it doesn't cost you much to put an extra plate on the table or an extra 10.
Yeah, it's like your caring generosity. You can see that there as well.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think people should do without because of their circumstances. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
That people are idiots.
Yeah.
And don't want to feed them or stuff like that. So, I done it. And I was quite happy with,
Shall we take a little break? Do you want to have another coffee?
Yes, please.
Yeah, alright, let's go for it. Alright, so we've got our coffee, so we can resume our recording. So, I think where we left off was midfield.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us a bit more about some of your experiences there?
So we were all outside midfield and we seen all these cars and there was one van that got my attention, so I went over and here's this dog. It's a collie, black and white collie. So the window was slightly open, enough to speak and for it to put its nose at the window. So I was talking to it and I was playing with its nose. And I was asking him stupid questions like, are they good to you? Do they feed you? Do you get to run about? Not that the dog can talk, but never mind. So this old couple came coming over to the van. And I was like, I'm only talking to the dog. I'm not touching it. I'm not going to hurt it. And I'm not going to steal it. And they're like, it's fine. So they had been coming about 6 weeks. And they brought me into the office and asked me if I wanted to go on a Sunday for lunch with them. And I thought, oh, free food. Aye, go on then.
And would you get time to spend with the dog as well? Was it?
Yeah, well, they lived on a farm.
Okay.
And that piqued my interest really much. So we'd been going for lunch every Sunday for about 6 weeks. And I was allowed to pick whatever I wanted. And it was like, oh, I'll have hamburger and chips, or again, just
food that you didn't have often, I guess.
Yeah, simple food, but something that I was like, oh my God, this is so different to slop. And so then I was to go for a weekend, and that was fine. I got to help him with the sheep, because it was lambing season at the time, so I was allowed to help. And then they found out I was allergic to cows. I was allergic to the dust off the cow.
Okay.
If I didn't touch a cow, I was fine, but if it shook or I patted it, then my skin would come all blistery and itchy and sore and red. But I didn't really care. So I was to go there for 3 months, and this was to introduce me to being there to stay forever. This was to be like my forever
So
home.
were they going to adopt you, kind of thing, or
Yeah,
be
sort
foster
of.
parents?
Yeah,
kind of thing?
a bit more like fostering.
Okay.
I think.
And what age were you at this point?
I was like 15.
Okay.
But I'm one of the people, if you tell me not to do something, I bloody well go out my way and do it.
Yeah.
I do the opposite. So there was one day I was sitting up beside the cows and I was bored. So I was playing with the cows. And I was drawing on my hand and I wrote Elvis, because I really, really liked Elvis Presley. Really liked him. So I came down about 4 hours later and I was covered in like hives, and my skin was like on fire, basically, because I kept touching the bloody cows and then touching my skin. And then she noticed that I'd written on my hand, so she says, go on and wash your hands and wash your body. This is ridiculous. You know you can't touch cows. And I was like, fuck off. So I went away. I didn't wash my hand. I washed everywhere else, but I kept my hand because I liked my wee picture I drew. And I came through and she sent me to bed because I didn't do what she told me to do.
Yeah.
So I wasn't allowed any tea. So I was to go to bed. And then she came through and she had this big scrubbing brush, like a big floor scrubbing brush. And she flung it at me. And it hit me in the side of the head. So I picked up the scrubbing brush.
Yeah.
And I fucking just about rammed it down her throat.
Wow.
And then I wrecked her house. And I literally just went fucking berserk.
So what went through your mind at that point?
Evil bastards. Just here's another people that pretend to like you.
Okay.
And then as soon as they think they're losing control, that's their only control is to fight back, is to fight.
Yeah.
So my control is to fucking fight back.
Yeah. So it's like, because they'd kind of built your trust over all this time, giving you food, weekends and everything, and then it's like they was just turned out to be like all the rest.
Yes. There was nothing nice about them. Nothing at all. The man, I really liked the man, and because I liked the man, the woman didn't like me. She was very jealous, I think. I mean, I'm the oil painting and he was an old man, so I wasn't going to do anything with him. But she wanted the power.
Yeah.
That's all it was, she wanted the power.
And then after you trashed the house, what happened after that?
The police came. They stuck me in handcuffs, like a big criminal.
Wow.
So here's a 14, maybe 15-year-old kid in handcuffs, sitting in the back of a meat wagon, like feeling like I just committed the biggest sin in the world.
Yeah.
And they're standing there with big grins on their faces. Nothing happened to them. I got taken to the police station because it was late at night, and I was stuck in a cell all by myself. There was a nice policeman. He came and he checked me, and he asked me if I wanted a cup of tea. And I says, yes, please. Are you going to give me a cup of tea? I says, yes. Do you want some toast? I said, oh, can I have 2 bits? Because I'm really hungry. I never had no tea. And he says, yeah, I'll get you toast. He says, do you want jam on it? And I went, oh yeah, anything. So he came, he gave me my toast, and I ate my toast, and I had my cup of tea, and he gave me a fag, but he had to stand there while I smoked it, in case I burnt the place down. Again, this wee person going to burn the house down. And he was so nice. He was so, so nice. And then this big bossy one came in and was like, right, leave her. And he went away. And I was left all by myself in a cell. So they've locked the door, and I'm needing the toilet, and I had to piss in this little metal tub thing. Oh, and I couldn't wash my hands because there was no sink. There was no soap. And then the next day, they came in the morning, and I got a cup of tea. Never even got any. I didn't get any more toast, but I got a cup of tea and a wee fag. And then they took me back to Midfield, and they told the story to that John Smith, because this was his sort of baby.
Okay.
He'd come up with the fostering and all this crap.
Yeah.
And so I had to write down, he says, right, there's a bit of paper, I want you to write all the good things and all the bad things. So I did. Then he ripped it up and kicked the shit out of me. For telling lies. For making it up.
What, because you put some of the bad stuff like being like thrown...
I put more bad things than I did good things. There was about one good thing, and I think that was the dog and the animals. And the cows. That caused me to get into so much trouble. But, aye, the people are just so fucking evil. Why, my brain doesn't understand why people can be so cruel to other people. They go out their way. I mean, I see it every day in my street. People go out their way to hurt other people. Yeah. Why?
And it's worse when it's children.
Yeah. And animals.
And animals, yeah.
I mean, I've got dogs. I've had dogs. For the minute I left care at, well, we were in Midfield, and I set the home on fire.
You set Midfield on fire?
Yes.
So was this the point where it was just all getting too much for you?
I couldn't control the feelings. I couldn't control anything that was happening. I was watching my friends getting beat, getting like raped in front of me.
That actually happened?
Yep. And one of my friends was very badly asthmatic. I mean, very badly asthmatic. She spent more time on a nebulizer than she did fucking standing. So I would sit at night with her, and I'd sit up on the pillows with my legs wide open, and she would sit in my legs and lean her head on my chest, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I would just hold her because she would just cry. I mean, this lassie, I'm not saying her name, but this lassie was the poorest, weakest person on the world. She just couldn't do anything. They raped her, they beat her. Ken, it was, why? That I didn't understand.
And do you think because, like, whereas you would fight back, because she's more vulnerable, she's more weak,
she couldn't fight back.
Advantage of her.
She couldn't fight back. I mean, there was me and two guys and her, and we were always together.
Yeah.
If one got into trouble, we all got into trouble. But we would all try and save her.
Okay.
We would always try and protect her. Like if we were all standing in the office, we knew we were getting a kick in or somebody was going to get raped, we would have her at the back of us. We had to protect her. Yeah. She would have died. Yeah. She would have died. And I didn't care what anybody says. This lassie would have died. Yeah. She was scared of her own shadow. She was very timid. Yeah. Very, very timid. She was very small and thin and very bad with her chest. I mean, I've got COPD and I'm nothing like her. Yeah. Like how she was. She ended up dying in the home.
In the home, really?
In the home. She took a massive, massive asthma attack. Okay. And it took them 7 hours to get her help. And by the time the ambulance came, she was in cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
when she died.
Gosh, wow.
So
and how did you and the other two boys feel at that time?
that's when I just says, Kim, what fuck is all?
Is that when you burned it
That's
down?
when I burnt it down.
Yeah.
I wasn't bright enough. I didn't know that fire needs oxygen. I shut the windows. I shut the door.
Yeah.
It just burnt the room.
Okay.
But my intention was to burn the whole fucking place down.
Yeah.
I even had petrol.
Wow.
You know that they used to be the wee petrol cans for your lighters?
Yeah.
Them. And my intention was to burn the fucking place down and everybody in it, and I didn't care who it was.
Because you were so hurt.
I got to a stage where I didn't even care if it was a kid. And that isn't a nice feeling. That is not a nice feeling. Because I tried so hard to protect children.
That's what I mean. So how did you come back from being that low of like really just not caring about anything and then getting through that stage?
Well, I ended up in the assessment centre. That was a nice place, not. But when I walked in, everybody knew me. Because they'd either been in Curry, they'd been in midfield, they'd been somewhere else. So
yeah, and I guess all the naughty children's all going to the wrong place.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, every door was locked behind you.
Yeah.
You wanted the toilet, you had to ask to go to the toilet. They had to take you to the toilet and unlock the doors.
So it's kind of like a high security
prison.
Yeah.
It was like a prison. That's exactly what it was. And I walked in and everybody just went in an uproar. Have you ever seen the Bostel where the guy keeps going in and out?
Yeah.
Jimmy Boyle?
Yeah.
Like that. So as I walked in, people were like, yeah. And, but it was alright. I survived that. I mean, I was only in for like 21 days.
Okay.
And then I had to go in front of a judge. But Smith had came to the assessment centre, and he was like, we're having you back at midfield because we need to know what you're saying. So they had lost the control up to then.
Okay.
Then he raped me in the assessment centre, in the main office. Then he kicked the shit out of me, but never mind. And so I stood in front of this fucking judge, and they're all giving their statements and, we'll take Maggie back, we'll do this, we'll do that. No, you fucking will not.
So is this at the assessment centre?
Aye.
Yeah.
But we had to go to a proper court.
Okay.
Like a big, massive court.
Yeah.
I'm 15 years old.
So they're trying to keep you there.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though you're causing all this trouble, they just don't want...
They didn't want to lose the control.
And lose the control, yeah.
They didn't want to lose the control of me.
Yeah.
Because then I might speak.
Yeah.
So we're standing there and the judge went, stand up. And I went, fuck you. He went, stand up. I went, alright. But I was trying to misbehave, so I would not go back.
Yeah.
They would send me to prison.
Yeah.
I wanted in prison.
Rather than be a midfielder. Was that
I wanted to go to prison.
Yeah.
In a big prison where I belonged.
Yeah.
And I said that to the lawyer. I belong in prison. Make sure I go to prison. Right? I want to go to prison.
Wow.
Most people are like,
oh, no.
keep me out of prison. But no, I felt like I would be more safe in prison than going back to midfield.
Yeah.
So the judge turned round and said to me, you are a waste of space and society doesn't need someone like you.
Oh my gosh. How did that feel?
That was a fucking judge. He just told me I was a waste of space and the world doesn't need people like me.
Yeah, how did you feel at that moment when it's coming from like a judge or someone not in...
I just felt like, what was the point? What's this all about? Are they all in it together? Have they all got their hands in the same fucking jar? Because that's a judge. And he's telling a 15-year-old that they're a waste of space. And my lawyer came up with all this stuff, and it was flung out.
The case was flown out?
Yes,
Flown out.
we don't need to hear all this. You're wasting my time. That's a fucking judge.
That's really strange, yeah.
So I stood up and I went, Your Honour, you're a wanker, fuck off. I went, I don't give a fuck what you do to me.
Yeah.
I don't care. You're going back to midfield.
That's what they did.
Mm-hmm. And you will be there till you are 21. You will be in Lothian care, children's homes, till you are 21 years old.
And that's your worst nightmare at the time.
That was my worst fucking nightmare ever. And I had to go back to midfield. I had no choice. I was under section. It was section 44(1)B or something along the lines. And I had no choice. If I ran away, I would be taken back. So...
And how long was you there? Was you there till you was 21?
No. I moved from there to... Where did I go after there? Seaview.
Okay.
Seaview.
So how did you end up moving? Because you really wanted to escape midfield. How did that actually come about that you got to move to Seafield?
David Burns, that Popeye, he had got a job in Seaview. And he told me...
And who's the Popeye?
Popeye, David Burns. He was an evil little fucker. He was the one that broke my wrist.
Okay,
He was
yeah.
the one that gave you kick-ins.
Yeah, okay.
There was David Burns, John Smith, and David Mackenzie. And they were the three bosses.
Okay.
And they were the ones who either raped you, kicked you, or beat the fucking living daylights out of you.
So it was the top people that were the worst.
It was the top boys.
Okay. And so when this David Burns, he moved to Seafield, he tried to get you there?
Yes, he told me the day he was leaving, I will end up in Seaview. And I told him to go fuck himself. What happened? I ended up in Seaview. 3 weeks later, he pulled all the strings. He pulled all the fucking strings. And he had the cheek to turn around and say to the police, when they went to interview him about all this carrying ons, that I begged them to go and stay in Seaview. Really? Mind blowing.
It really is.
And he raped me at least 12 times, maybe 13.
At Seaview?
At Seaview.
And so now you're about, what, 15, 16?
I would have been coming up 16.
Yeah.
Still no voice because I'm in care.
Yeah.
Nobody's listening. I'm not going to go to the police because the police have just fucking fucked me over. I'm not going to go to a judge because he just told me it was a waste of fucking space.
Yeah.
So who am I going? Where am I going? I'm going nowhere. Fucking nowhere. So I was in there for about a year. And my dad turned up. He phoned and they said that he could come and stay for 3 days in a hostel. But he only stayed for 1 day in the hostel because David Burns, I'm sure they had something going on there too. Okay. I'm sure. Because he got to stay in a children's home with children.
That doesn't happen.
No, it does not happen.
No.
So he came and I was raped by both of them. My dad and him.
So you never met your dad in all this time, and then out of the blue, your dad just turned up.
Yes.
And then basically both of them
raped me. Then they threatened my brother. They threatened my oldest brother and my youngest brother. And they said if I didn't say that George, my oldest brother, had raped me, then they were going to make sure he died. They were going to kill him. I've seen people die. I've seen kids die. I wasn't taking that I wasn't taking that on board. I was too feared that my brother would die. I know this sounds really bad.
So this is after they did what they did to you, then they said you have to lie and say that your brother.
Yes, that it was my brother that done it. And so he would go to prison because my brother wasn't my dad's son. He was somebody else's son.
Okay.
It was only me and my younger brother, but older than me. I'm the youngest.
That's it.
So my head was just, didn't care if it was coming or going, but I couldn't take the risk of my brother dying.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much power they had.
Yeah.
To me, they had loads of power.
Yeah.
So I had to tell the police, and for years, right up to about 5 years ago, before I told the truth.
So
What
happened to your brother when you told him?
I never told him. I told the police.
Yeah.
And the police were going to charge him, but the police didn't believe me.
Okay.
And I'm glad they didn't believe me in that sense.
Yeah.
But I could not say who done it.
Yeah.
Because then my brother might die.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'd only met my brother maybe 4 or 5 times in my life. But he was still my brother.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's still my brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I never spoke to him for that day to the day he died. He died of cancer about 10, 15 years ago, and I never got to apologise. And that was horrible.
But you wouldn't need to apologise because I think the circumstances are so terrible that...
But he didn't know the circumstances.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have known that it was a complete setup from day dot.
Yeah. And so what happened after, because your dad come, what happened after that?
He went away the next day, and I never seen him again in my life. And I never want to. I mean, he's obviously dead now. I'm 60, so he's obviously dead.
Because it just seems a bit strange, your dad just coming out of the blue and then doing that to you. It seems...
I know. And to this day, I'm still not 100% sure he was my dad. Because I had no proof he was my dad. But the police said, because the police thought this as well, that this was a pedo. Like a pedo ring. But then they came back and they says that he had a ticket to come to Edinburgh for 3 days. Okay. They did look into it all.
So when was this? This is not when you...
I was like 15, 16.
And what, did the police start listening to you at that point and investigate it?
No. They just basically came back and told me that I was telling lies. That never happened. And that was the last I ever heard of anybody. Yeah.
But you mentioned about the pedo ring or something like that.
Yeah, that was when I reported it to the inquiry, and then they got the police.
Okay,
and then
this
the police
is years later.
Yeah.
I see.
This is like, 4 years ago?
Okay.
And I had said to the police, look, I'm going to end up in trouble. I know I'm going to be in trouble. I did a bad thing. This is what happened. This is what I said because I was told, not because I wanted to be bad. And so after I told the story, I turned around and said to him, so am I going to prison?
So this is like 4 years ago?
Yes, this was 4 years ago, yeah. And I'm like, am I going to prison for telling lies and like wasting time and blah, blah, blah and stuff like that? And they're like, no. This was out of your control.
It just shows that all of those years later, you still had that fear that the police was going to... Yeah,
that I'd go to prison and I'd be the baddie and nobody else. And I said to them at the beginning of the interview, I will not tell a lie. Yeah. I will not lie for anyone, anymore. Yeah. I will never lie. Yeah. I will always tell the truth. Yeah. Because I was terrified. I was terrified now I was going to go to prison. I'm an adult. I'm not a 15-year-old bairn that wanted to be in prison. Yeah. I don't want to go to prison now. Thank you. Yeah. So there is a difference between like being a kid and finding a way out is prison. Yeah. But being an adult, an old adult, and thinking, shit, I'm going to go to prison.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But it's strange how that fear was still there, that
The fear
if you
was
speak
always
the
there.
truth, things are going to go bad for you.
I could never tell my brother. I could never tell my younger brother.
Yeah.
I could never tell my auntie and uncle.
Yeah.
So they've all went to their deaths, apart from one brother, thinking he did all this.
Yeah.
And he'd done nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So, I mean, it's a lot to live with.
Yeah.
And it sometimes comes back and haunts me up the bum.
No, but it shouldn't, because I think that the circumstances you're under, anyone would do the same thing. So I wouldn't take it.
I fell on the train on my coccyx.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
And what, was you going to another care facility in
It was more like wasn't a children's home. It was like Richmond Fellowship, I think. It was more like teaching you to cook.
Okay.
To scrub fucking floors with a toothbrush. You had to. Every morning. You had to clean the floors with a toothbrush. Yeah.
And so you thought you was going somewhere better maybe, and then it's just the same as...
Well, it was better in a sense. Like, there was no beatings, there was no rapes.
Okay.
It was just manual labour.
Okay.
That didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
I just done it. I'd moan about it.
Yeah.
I'd have a bitch about it. I'd kick off about it. But I just done it.
Yeah. So did you feel a bit more content at this place, a bit more?
You were more free.
Yeah.
You got fed. And you had to make your own tea.
Okay.
I used to make everybody porridge a lot. Because, like, they were all English and I was only Scots.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand them and half of them couldn't understand the word I said. But I'd make them porridge and they'd be like, this is amazing. How do you know how to make porridge? And I'm like, well, I've fucking lived off it for fucking years. I'm sure I know how to make it. I can read. But it was freedom. But then we go into like glue sniffing and cutting and self-harming, and it was pretty horrendous that way.
Okay.
But you were doing it yourself. So you were making that decision to do it.
So do you think you were so used to being abused in all different types of way that then you started doing it to yourself to kind of fill the gap, or what was behind your thinking?
I think it was a different pain. Like your pain stopped their pain.
Okay.
So when I always think of it as a boiling kettle. Like my body was a boiling kettle all the time, ready to boil.
Okay.
It was on the verge of boiling 24/7.
Yeah.
So if I cut, the boil would go down. Okay. And it would release something, so I wouldn't feel as bad.
Okay.
But I always did it in a bath with red hot water.
Wow.
So like it would bleed more, it would hurt more, I poured bleach in it, I'd pour disinfectant in it. Wow. Just anything to keep the pain going, but it was a different pain. Yeah. Completely different pain. Yeah. It wasn't this ouch, ouch. It was, yeah, fucker, that pain. Okay, yeah. Where like your skin's burning and... Wow. But it was a happier pain. Yeah. Because you were causing it yourself. You had control on that knife or that blade. Yeah. Or that bit glass or whatever. I mean, I'd seen me out in the woods messing about and I'd find the bottle and I'd smash it and I'd just rip my leg open. Just for fun. Oh, wow. Because the pain inside was so horrific. Yeah. That I needed a different kind of pain. So I would do it myself. Yeah. And so there was no other way of getting rid of the pain that was going on inside? No. 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 But even at this Coventry facility, how was you feeling in a better state because it was not as
intense as...
It wasn't an intense, no. I mean, I ended up with a record player, I ended up with records, I ended up with Elvis pictures, big mirrors, kind of, just, everything seemed to be coming.
Yeah, okay.
You were getting.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it was actually quite hard.
To get used
to get things and have things. And now I'm still a wee bit like that. If I get something, I'll hold on to it.
Okay.
I won't give it away.
Yeah.
Even if it's horrible, even if it's the worst thing somebody's gave me, I can't give it away.
Yeah.
I have to keep it.
Yeah.
I mean, people say I'm a wee bit of a hoarder. Maybe, but my house isn't a hoarder. You know what I mean? But if I have something, I've got to keep it.
Yeah.
Like, if I get a pair of trousers, they're mine.
Yeah.
They're mine.
Yeah.
Didn't bother touching them because they're mine.
Yeah.
I will break your fingers.
Yes.
If you take my trousers.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
She wanted a pair of my socks the other day because her feet were cold and I had really thick socks. I was nearly greeting. Because she wore my bloody socks.
So even after all this time, you still feel that...
It's like, but they're mine.
Yeah.
Why do you want them? You've got socks.
Yeah.
Why you take mine?
Yeah.
But she wore them and she washed them and she gave me them back.
Yeah.
It wasn't like she was going to keep them. But in my brain, I wasn't allowed them.
Yeah.
And like, even after we got all that money, like, when they were flinging things out, it was like, it's mine, no, don't take it.
Yeah.
I couldn't cope with that.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I lost all my house.
Yeah.
And I've got a nice house. I've got a comfy house now.
Yeah.
But they were mine.
Yeah.
And it was up to me to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I found that really difficult. I found that very, very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
So at this point in life, so you're coming up to what, 16, 17, getting a bit more...
I was 18. When I left Coventry, I was 18.
Okay.
I went to the...
And was that the last time you ever saw Papa when he dropped you off?
That was the very last time I ever seen him. And it was the best day of my life.
Yeah.
Because it was the last day I ever seen any of them.
Yeah.
Any one of them.
Yeah.
And I went to the Barney Hostel.
Okay.
No, I went to Red House. Red House first.
And is that another care home?
That was a children's home.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm like 18 years old.
All right.
I want to go to college.
Yeah.
No, I was 17, sorry. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be a vet. I knew what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I knew I would be good at it.
Yeah.
Even in being a big-headed, I knew I'd be good. They wouldn't allow me. You're in a children's home. You're not fucking doing anything. So I had to sign on like a wee pauper and get a wee fucking check in my hand. They were just nasty people. They locked me in a cupboard one day, in a broom cupboard, for 6 hours.
And this is when you're like late teens?
I'm 18.
And they're still treating you like that?
Treating me like a piece of shit.
Gosh.
And they locked the door. It was locked.
Yeah.
So I couldn't just walk out, because it was locked.
Yeah.
I had to piss in a pot.
Yeah.
So I says, come on, I'm going to have a fucking shite and all. So I shat in their pot. And their mop pail.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
And so as you're getting older, did you feel like you was getting your voice, or was the voice still not there and
the
or
voice,
not being listened to?
No, the voice wasn't there until the day I walked out. The day that I had to go in front of a judge. I was at the Barney Hostel and they'd got me into college.
Okay.
Into vet school. And then I had to go in front of a judge. And they'd got me a house in Muirhouse. It was in the flats. I didn't care. It was mine. And you had to go in front of the judge and he had to sign off because I wasn't 21. And he told me that I had to make sure that I'd be a better person than
so
what
this
I
is
was.
a different judge.
It was a different judge.
Yeah, okay,
If it had been the same judge, I think I'd still be in fucking care. Because I'd have punched him. And he was lovely. He was really quite nice. He did wish me luck and stuff like that. And he did say that he thinks I'd make a very good vet because I had passion.
Yeah.
I had passion in my voice.
Yeah.
So.
And love for animals as well.
Yeah.
By the sounds of it.
I mean, I did 4 years of vet. And then I was given this dog. And it breaks my heart to this day because this dog, there's nothing wrong with this dog. It was in the cat and dog home and nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
It was a scruffy little thing, but hey ho, it's a dog. And I weighed it. I got his arm ready. I shaved its arm. I put his tourniquet on. Got the stuff and the needle. And I thought, fuck you. I'm not God. And I'm not playing God.
Yeah.
I'm not killing, to me, a human.
Yeah.
But 4 legs.
Yeah. So did that put you off the...
That was it.
Yeah.
I walked through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I never... And I wish I hadn't had the morals. I wish I was quite hard-nosed and like as I was as a child. But I couldn't do it.
But you must have been quite good educationally as well then. Like,
well,
through all of this you was going through, you still was like studying and...
I did do a lot of... I had to do extra studying because I have that thing in my brain that when I read something it just disappears. So I had to I had this little tiny tape recorder and if I had a study book I would have to talk into the mic and record it and then listen to it.
Yeah.
And what I used to do is put headphones in.
Okay.
And sleep with them in. So it would go into my brain, it would just constantly keep going and keep going. And I had to do a lot of things like that, same with like numbers, because I don't have this thing in my brain that can control numbers.
But you would just find a way of working around it with these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took more time and it took more energy, but I had all the time in the world. I was in a wee flat in Muirhouse. I didn't have many friends. I mean, I moved into that house and they gave me a stinky old mattress. It was all pish and dirty and a blanket and that was it. That was it. I had nothing. And by the time I was probably in there for about 6 months, I had a nicer house than you had.
Okay.
Because everybody in the flats used to, when you went in, you had to get the lift. So there was a big door and there was a note on the door, number 6. And I'd go in and there'd be a couch. Or I'd go in one day and there was carpet.
And are these just from people in the building?
Just people in the flats. And that sort of got to know me, like...
Yeah. And so was this must have been a shock because whereas a lot of people were always treating you bad and then all of a sudden people are...
Being nice.
Being nice.
And you're like, why you being nice? What do you want? Nothing? Okay, I'll take your stuff. And, I mean, I had this carpet and it was like yellow. I mean, yellow. I didn't care. It was warm. It was clean.
And it was yours.
It was mine.
It was yours, yeah.
I had this couch. It had every colour on the sun. But it was mine. And at the end of the day, I mean, it was just a wee 1-bedroom flat. But I had a nicer house than you.
Yeah.
And I'd done no work for it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, there is nice people in the world.
Yeah, so that must be a big change in perspective from that side of things as well.
Exactly.
All right. So then, because you've got your own place now, so was you totally out of the care system? Was that totally finished?
Totally. For the minute
the judge
said that was me out the system.
Yeah.
And it was the best day of my life. I had nobody to answer to apart from just me.
And obviously you went through a lot of trauma. How did that affect your life moving forward as you was more in the real world and building your family? And how did all of those experiences you went through affect you?
Well, at the beginning, I didn't trust many people. I would take their stuff because they gave me it, so I would take it. But I didn't really trust many people. I didn't have many friends at all. And then I had dogs. I had a male and a female, and my bitch was in season. So I took the bitch out on her own and left the male in the house for a pee, and my flat burnt. It went on fire. There was something wrong with the electrics or something. And the fire brigade, they got my dog out, and I met this girl, this woman, Pam, and she's like, is it just you and the dogs? I says, yeah, just me and they two. And so she let me go and stay with her. And there was a flat down the stairs from her, and it was empty. So she fought to get me that. And then I got a grant to put some furniture in, and because people aren't going to be nice twice. And then I met my husband, and I didn't like him at the beginning. I thought he was a little troll. I used to call him that. But eventually we got together, and...
Did that take a lot of building trust?
It did. It took like months. It was like, oh, you're all right, aye, but you're all right over there.
Yeah.
And I'm all right over here.
Yeah.
Just don't be near me.
Yeah.
And it did take a long time, but he was from care too, and I think his was easy. So he says. And I think that helped a wee bit, because like some of the stuff I had, I knew they would have.
Yeah.
Maybe not every individual, but some of them. And we got together, we had a baby, but I couldn't do two. I couldn't do baby and man.
Okay.
It was like, it was too hard. Yeah, and then like 5 years later, we had another one.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, we had another one. And then 18 months later, we had another one. And then 21 months later, there's another one pops out.
Yeah.
But it was the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
Because it made me grow up.
Yeah.
I wasn't this stupid little person.
Yeah.
I had to like be there for them.
Yeah.
Because I realised nobody else is going to do it for me.
Yeah.
And they certainly were not going to care.
Yeah.
Because
you just didn't want that for them. Yeah.
I'd have killed anybody who even thought of hurting my kids.
Yeah.
So.
And so, like, all those years you was bringing up the kids, and then did it ever come back, like, to haunt you, all the stuff you went through, or was it just put in a box and left to one side?
It was put in a box for years and years and years, and then somebody put me forward to go to the Scottish Inquiry.
Okay, and what year was that?
That was just before COVID.
Okay.
I think it started just before COVID, because we had to do another interview in COVID.
Okay.
That was hard. That was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life, because that was from start to finish.
Yeah.
I
so
mean,
similar to what we're talking about, but
everything. No missing anything out.
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking about a file that's like 3,000 pages long.
Wow.
It's no a small file.
Yeah.
And then I had to be interviewed by the police, because I named people. If you name somebody, you've got to back it up.
Yeah.
But I went to the police would be about 27 years ago, 26 years ago, something like that.
So you would have been about 30s?
Yeah, I just had my youngest.
Okay.
My youngest was wee, and I'd walked into the children's centre, and one of the staff members from Midfield was sitting at the desk.
So they was still working there.
Mm-hmm.
After all those years you left?
Yes.
So obviously stuff was probably
I walked
still
in,
going on.
and he turned round and said to my oldest child, now it was my youngest one it was in, my two youngest ones that were in the children's centre, and he turned round and says, I know your mother very well. And that was it.
Is this one of the people who was one of the bad ones?
Yes.
Okay.
And I walked in, into the rooms, I grabbed the two of them by the arms and marched them out. And I turned around and says, they will not be back. That fucking pedos in this building, my kids will not be fucking entering it.
Yeah, and why were you there in the first place with the kids?
Just because I'd had my second one, when I had my second one, and then I had my third one, they thought it'd be easier if they were in the children's centre for a couple of hours a day.
Okay.
Just to take the pressure off me.
Yeah.
And more so because like my second one was quite ill.
Okay.
So he had a lot of breathing problems and skin problems.
Yeah.
And it was just more to
give you some rest.
To give me some rest.
Yeah.
Because day 3 were quite quick.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, fine. But I never really trusted them. And I ended up having to be at the police station in Musselburgh for about a fortnight. Every day.
So you took the kids out at that point, and then how did you end up at the police station? Did you go yourself?
Well, because this was a social work nursery, they had to inform the police because really I had kidnapped my own children. That doesn't make sense. But
it's really bad that the person's working at the social work centre.
Yes. And if I'd never seen him that day, I would never have went to the police.
Yeah.
It was the fact that fucking pedo was around my children. And my brain just went, fuck off.
Yeah.
And I never told anybody. And then the next minute, the care worker, she was really nice, Beth. She was really, really nice.
Yeah.
She came to my door with the police. And I was like, go and fuck off. Go just fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to you. But they had the power. They could have took my kids.
Yeah.
And that's
and then you
all
was
my brain was doing was, no, you can't touch my kids, you can't touch my kids.
Yeah.
So I had to tell them the story, but I only told them about Midfield.
Okay.
Because he was the one from Midfield.
Yeah.
So what was the point in telling them about anybody else?
And so did they investigate all the things
they investigated. They took the 3 of them in. David Burns, David McKenzie and John Smith. And every one of them turned round and says, I bet it was her. I bet this is about her. Every one of them. And the policeman went, and how would you think that? Because she's a fucking troublemaker. She'll say anything to get herself out of trouble. And they went, she's not even in trouble. She's not in trouble. So why would she say it?
Yeah.
And he knew. He said, that policeman, he was lovely. I mean, really nice policeman. Because I said to him, how do you do this every fucking day?
Yeah. So do you think he knew that you was telling the truth?
He knew I was telling the truth. He said that the minute he seen me.
Yeah.
He says, we started talking and he went, I'm going to stop you right there. And I was like, why? And he's like, because I believe you. I believe everything you're saying.
Yeah.
I says, well, I'm not here to fucking lie.
Yeah. Because
you can put me in prison. I still had this prison thing. I've got a thing about prison. And because he believed me because of my reaction.
Yeah.
Anybody who was making that up wouldn't have had that reaction.
Exactly, yeah.
And he said that had to have been the worst thing I'd seen.
Yeah.
Just walking in and seeing this person and
I can't
my brain
imagine
just
what it must have
went
been like.
fucking do. Get me out of here, sort of idea.
And so what happened? Did they investigate and did anything happen to those 3?
Well, it took 21 years before anybody ever got back to me. And there was enough evidence and the Procurator Fiscal, Dick, kicked out.
And this is just a few years ago?
well, 21 years ago.
Yeah.
21 years ago.
Yeah.
And so when I went...
So why did they kick it out if you had all the evidence and everything was all in place?
Because of their ages. Because of their ages.
Because they were older at that point.
Yep. And they didn't think that I would... the procurator fiscal didn't think I'd be strong enough to stand in court. He didn't fucking know me.
And were they still working at the same place then?
One of them, that David Mackenzie, was just going for an interview and he was stopped working with children.
Okay.
Every one of them would never be allowed to work with children again. So when I did the inquiry and they said that I'd have to go to the police, I was like, no, I'm not going to any place. So I did, eventually. And I got these two nice police officers. And now it's a big investigation that's going on.
Is it really going on? Okay.
A big, massive investigation. Okay. I can't even get my papers.
Yeah.
Because they've got them.
Yeah.
And they'll not be released until the investigation's over with.
Okay.
And that's...
And more people involved in this as well.
Aye.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a laddie who was in 2 of the homes with me, and he stays down the road for me. Quite a few of them do now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, see, when I see them, I want to go over to them and hug them, but I can't. I have to walk the other way because they bring too much.
Oh gosh.
Just seeing them brings too much, and my brain just doesn't want to go down that road anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're doing this because I want people to know that kids in care aren't bad. They're not horrible people. They're really quite nice people. If people treat them with respect, they'll treat other people with respect. And that's basically why I said I would do this.
And I think what it really shows as well is that any of the behaviours is just a result of what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they're inherently bad children.
No. If you tell a child often enough that they're stupid, they're mental, they're thick, they're idiots, they're going to act like it because they've got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
They've got no stimulation, so what they're going to do, they're going to misfucking behave.
Yeah.
They're going to beat up people. They're going to get into trouble.
So how do you feel about everything you've been through now you're at this stage in your life?
I think it's made me a stronger person. It's made me a bigger person. It's made me stronger. It's made me more alert and aware of my surroundings and my circumstances. And when I met you, I didn't like you. I wouldn't even speak to you.
I remember.
Do you want to do the treadmill? Guess so. Do you want to do the bike? Guess so. But it took me so long. I never
thought you would come back after that first day, that first meeting. I never thought you'd come back.
Did you know? I did it to annoy you. I actually came back to annoy you. Oh, God. 10 years later. Fuck's sake.
Still annoying me now.
Still annoying you. But that's the type of person I am. If I can let myself trust somebody, especially males, but even some females, then I'll be their friend.
Yeah.
I'll be their mould.
Yeah.
Is how friends should be.
Yeah.
And how people treat other people. Because I always think if you can treat somebody with respect, then they'll treat you with respect. And they'll be as happy with you as you are with them.
Yeah. And it's amazing that through all of that, you've still come with that attitude after all the mistreatment, all the abuse, all the bad times you've been through with other people. You can still come to this point today where you still say something like that.
Well, I could have turned the other corner and been a beast, an abuser, a kicker, like beat up people, robber, a rapist. I could have turned out to be 1,000,001 things, and I chose to be me. I chose not to let them win.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you do that, you're a better person.
Yeah.
You're a bigger person than they were.
100%.
So
100%.
cool. See,
Oh, wow.
I'm good at this.
You're really good. Is there anything else you want to add to something that you've missed or anything else?
Oh, there's hundreds of things I've missed, son.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to do an interview from start to finish.
Yeah.
And as we said earlier, it would probably take about 10 hours.
Yeah, if not more.
But that's one thing I would like to do because I'd like to get my voice out there.
And what about your book? How's your book?
My book is coming out very soon. It is called Trapped. Is that?
Yeah.
Trapped? Yeah, it is. Trapped. I'm trying to think.
Okay.
It's not a big book, but it does carry quite a lot of power in it. It's not for the public yet, but it's for people who want to read it, who hear about it through the radio or through this or through other people. If they want to read it, then good. But I'd like to do it for the public eventually.
And so that will be your way of getting your voice out there as well. Yeah.
Yep. Because I feel like I'm 60. I was in care till I was like 18, 19. People need to know this happened.
Yeah.
All these horrible, nasty, crappy things happened to kids. And it's not only the people who did the abuse, any of the abuse, it's social workers, it's teachers, it's judges, it's the police, it's the fire brigade, it's the ambulance service, it's the hospitals who didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Who didn't care about these little fuckers.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we were called. So somebody has to like jump up and go, this happened, listen, open your bloody ears and listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah. If you could speak to someone who's growing up in care at the moment, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
I would give them the advice as in never change. Don't mould into what they want you to mould into. You are a person. You stay a person. You're not an animal and you're not a fucking robot. So if you don't like something and you don't think it's right, open your mouth. Say it. And keep saying it until somebody believes you.
That's a good one as well, definitely. And so what about for you? What's next for you?
Well, hopefully my book comes finishing, which is nearly soon. I'm going on holiday. I'm going to go on a cruise that I've wanted to do since I was like knee-high to a grasshopper. Because I like the sea and I like the animals in the sea, which you don't get to see very often. But I'm going to be doing that in next year. Next year. So that'll be nice. It'll be something I really wanted to do. My poor husband doesn't want to do it with me because he's scared of water. Yes, you only go down and come back up, you know.
Yeah.
If you're stupid enough, you will drown, but I'm not stupid, so I won't drown.
That's exciting times ahead then.
Yeah, and I just want to watch my grandkids grow up to being better than their parents, and their parents are good.
Yeah.
So I want them
Keep the generation
to have good careers and work hard and just be kids.
Brilliant. All right. So I've got a few quick fire questions.
Okay.
Yeah. You could just answer as you feel. So what is your favorite travel destination?
Benidorm.
What is your favorite meal?
Mac and cheese.
Have you got any idols or any people you look up to?
Elvis Presley's always been my big idol, but I like people like J-Lo, Beyonce, Ollie Murs, just anybody who's made it in success. And
Brilliant. And what about if you could be any animal ever, what would you be and why?
I'd be a tiger. I wouldn't actually. I'd be a snow leopard because they have it so hard in their wildness, and I just love them.
Yeah, so they're able to get through the wild circumstances and
every weather, and they're strong and they're powerful and they're fierce and they frighten the life of people. I like that part.
Brilliant. And if you could have any superpower added to the ones you've already got, what would be your superpower?
I would like to be Superman. Just conquer the world and put everything out there.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much.
Cool.
This has been a brilliant first episode, and I really thank you for your time, for your honesty, for being so open. And, you know, we've known each other for a good few years now. And like, I really do think you're the strongest woman I know that I've ever met in my life. So thank you for being a part of my life and being so open and sharing these things on film today.
I'm strong, but I'm a big chicken.
Yes, you haven't let them change you. So that's the thing to remember. You haven't let the system didn't change you.
No.
You kept your beautiful essence alive, and so like
I would never let them win ever. And definitely. I swore that when I was a bairn. They wouldn't have been, so they didn't win. Cool.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Wow. What an explosive first episode of Unsung Superheroes. It was supposed to be an hour, but it spread over 2. The experiences were just so riveting despite how terrible they were. It was just hard to stop midway through. And I don't think it will do it justice to split it into 2 parts. The Storm really is a superhero. She absolutely is one of the most resilient people I know, and you can understand why. I'm sure through that brief moment of learning about her, you will agree that she sure has shown some serious strength. So one of the beautiful things about it is that she's retained her spirit and nothing tore her down. And if there's one thing we can all take away from it, is that if we stay true to who we are and we always retain our individuality without fitting into the mold, then we can survive and thrive and conquer through anything also. So a huge thank you for my first guest today, The Storm. Join us for the next episode of Unsung Superheroes, where we delve into the life of another ordinary person living an extraordinary life as they battle through adversities and stresses and still survive and thrive as they progress through life.